Hello everyone! It is Monday, it's the 1st, I love it when that happens, so here we go for the first week of May of 2023. Technically this should be weekly reading vlog like 18 or 19, but because week 13 ended up being a month, we're just going to say that this is weekly reading vlog 14. So yeah, because it's the 14th one I've done this year. My reading has not started great. I haven't read anything yet today and it is now 6 o'clock, which means in the next 2 hours I am going to be going to bed. For about 2 weeks I was having trouble sleeping, in that I was only getting 1 to 2 hours sleep at a time. And then in between I was just getting really bad hot flushes and feeling sick and not great. And then that settled, but for the last like 3-4 days in a row now, I've been waking up at about 7 AM, feeling really good and feeling great, getting up, doing stuff, and then by sort of 5-6 PM my head goes kaput and I have to take all the painkillers and go to bed so I don't end up with a full migraine. And then I'm sleeping at the moment for about 11 to 12 hours a day. Not ideal, not fantastic, but at the end of the day it's better than what it was, where I was only sleeping in sort of 2 to 3 hour segments and then being up for 4 or 5 hours in between, and that was really starting to make me unwell. So, you know, I'd rather sleep for 11 hours and do like a 50-50 day and have 50% of my day be really good than have like 8-9 hours of sleep but in 3-hour segments and I spend the entirety of my day feeling like crap. But reading plans for this week, I've not really stopped to think about what I'm going to read this week. It's mostly just I will read things as I get to them. I have some books that I'd like to do this month. I have In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. I got the Waterstones edition and it is... But I'm going to put this on the shelf so this can be like my pretty shiny display edition. I don't really want to be annotating and highlighting in the special edition. But I do have the ARC version that I got on NetGalley, so I'm probably going to read that. And if I love it enough then I might come back and highlight this one. I don't know. So I'd kind of like to... I've started to do it now where I want to try and have a physical, an ebook and an audiobook all going. So that way when my head's bad I'll have my audiobook that I can tune into, and now that I've got like my puzzle books that I've bought, I've got 2 or 3 now. They're like little puzzle and activity book, and this one has colouring pages as well. So when my head's bad I just go to bed with my highlighter and I just sit and do some puzzles while I'm listening to the audiobook. And then when my head gets really bad, I just lie down and I just listen to it. And then I obviously will have my ebook for when I'm downstairs and about and doing things, and then my physical book for any other time. So my audiobook that I would like to continue, I want to continue with Daughter of the Pirate King. And I also have The Dream Thieves, which is book 2 in the Raven cycle by Maggie Stiefvater, so I'd like to get on with those. I'd kind of like to make some progress on Gear Breakers this week. I also have an audiobook version of this, so I can listen to this on audio as well as physical. And I'm going to try and get a few of the Transmogrify stories done. So yeah, and I also have Graceling somewhere around the house that I need to find and work on. So yeah, I basically have Graceling and Transmogrify will be my physical books. Gear Breakers, Daughter of the Pirate King and Dream Thieves will be audiobooks. And then for ebooks I've got In the Lives of Puppets, and I'm also going to be on a blog tour on the 18th. I'm going to be on the blog tour for Straight Expectations by Callum... I want to say McSwain, but I don't think that's correct. And yeah, so I obviously need to get started on that. So I kind of have quite a lot that I want to get done this week. Whether or not I'll do it remains to be seen. All of April I read 5 books. So if I can try and do more than that this month, that would be great. I don't want to fall behind on my reading goal. I am still currently ahead, but you never know when that's going to change. But yeah, got couple of other plans this week. On Friday I've got to go and get my eyes retested because the doctor is concerned that with my migraines they might be linked to when I had my new glasses done in December, because it's been since December that my migraines have gotten a lot worse. So they just want to rule out that it's not that I've got the wrong prescription and my eyes are trying to overcompensate, and that's why my brain goes stabby owls. So I have that on the Friday, and then also Friday night I'm staying at my brother's because I'm babysitting my niece. So while him and his wife go out, I will be on cuddles and getting Monster to bed and then staying there overnight. That's the only plans I've got for the week so far. I think next week's when things are going to be more interesting, because I think it's next week that my sister's here. Like, she's just coming over on her own from Australia, and I'm just really, I'll probably only get to see her once I think she's only here for a week and I'll only get to see her once, but it's still better than nothing. Yeah, so that's it. I've been watching The Sandman with my uncle today. I thought I'd watched like half of it. Turns out I'd watched one episode. So I'm quite enjoying that and I'm looking forward to continuing that. I'm also still watching Chloe on Chloe Reads Books. She's doing some live sprints, so I'm just watching those and joining in with those. And I could tell that I'm starting to slow down though, because I've actually had a bit of a boost of energy today. I've washed my hair, I blow dried it, I've tidied the living room, I've done a wash load, I've filmed a couple of videos, edited a vlog, and now I'm just like, okay, I'm almost ready for bed again already. Anyway, I'm gonna try and get at least, you know, I've got this little stackage of books to get through this week, so let's see and try and get through at least something, or at least start getting through something tonight if I can. I've read a book, and I mean an entire book, and not just a manga or a graphic novel, I mean a 400-page novel in a day. Not even a day, in like 5 hours. I went to bed last night at about 8 o'clock. I was feeling a bit tired, so I was like, I'll go to bed about 8. And I took the No-Show up with me by Beth O'Leary. I was like, I can at least start it, see if I get on with it. And when I switched off an hour and a half later, I was halfway through it. And then Ren did some reading sprints this morning, afternoon for them, morning for me, and I hopped on, and within 2 hours again I'd finished it. So I kind of digested this in about 4 hours. One of the sprints was 45 minutes long and I read 111 pages. And it's like, to be fair, you know, it's average size text. It does have quite a bit of space on the page, so it's not huge, but it's still the fact that I've read this in not even 24 hours, I'm just like, huh, okay. I've given it 4.5 stars. I'm not going to be talking much about it though, because I feel like the blurb gives enough, and you should go into this not really knowing anything, because there are a fair few twists and turns. I was like, what? But essentially the premise of this, you've got 3 women who all get stood up on Valentine's Day by this guy. And that's all I can really say, because anything else I could talk about why, how, when, where, all counts as spoilers. So yeah, this was my 3rd try with Beth O'Leary. I gave The Flat Share 5 stars, absolutely loved it. It's one of my favourite contemporary romance novels. I gave The Road Trip 2 stars back in, I think, January or February of this year. Absolutely hated it and thought it was awful. And so I was a bit nervous going into this one, because I was like, I've had one hit, one miss. This one was a hit. I gave it 4.5 stars. It didn't get 5 stars mostly because for all there was a big cast of characters, it wasn't a very diverse cast, and I felt that some of the characters fell into the vein of The Road Trip, where they were just very unlikable and quite vain, and one of the main females in this in particular, I just wasn't, like, Siobhan, I just wasn't really overly, invested in. Towards the end I was, And her storyline in particular, I didn't expect what happened, and I was kind of like, oh, okay. And I did end up really liking her by the end, but for most of the book I didn't really like her. And Jane I didn't like again till quite close to the end. The only one that I loved all the way through was Miranda. So yeah, it definitely threw me for some loops I didn't expect, and there was one point in particular that I literally just sat there and I just went, oh, whoa, okay. And suddenly I was like way more invested. So yeah, 4.5, and has confirmed that maybe The Road Trip was just a dud book for her. And then about 2 minutes ago, well actually about 5 minutes ago now because I've been talking for 4. So about 5 minutes ago I got some book mail. I did an order on Vinted the other week because I managed to get a manga and 2 graphic novels, and I paid less than £7 for all of them, and I'm just like... So we have My Hero Academia Volume 23 by Kohei Hirokoshi. I'm basically collecting My Hero volumes in any order that I can get them. This looks brand new. This doesn't look like it's been read. That's how good a condition this is in. Look at it. It looks brand spanking new, and I paid £2 for it, or £3. And then, I could not believe this, it was only on for like £4 for both. I got Monstrous Volume 2 and 3. Now, I got Volume 1 a couple of years ago. I read it. I found it was a little bit overwhelming with the amount of information that was in there, and I found it a bit difficult to follow. But I'm hoping that 2 and 3 starts to clear things up a bit, because the artwork is beautiful and I did enjoy most of what I saw on the storyline. So I am going to do, maybe I'll do a monstrous vlog where I'll do all 3 of the volumes that I own in one go and see how that goes. And again, these are in absolute immaculate condition. So I would say that's a bargain well got. So quite excited for these, and I'm looking forward to getting in and giving them a read. So I've also been working on my readathon. I am happy to announce that it's called the Adventure-a-thon. I've decided that is what it's going to be called. I've started to create some graphics for it. I'm just working on some of the quests and things now, and yeah, I'm just so excited. There's going to be an Instagram photo contest. There's going to be a cosplay competition. It's going to be good. So yeah, I'm going to get on and do some reading, and I've just had 3 messages pop up while I'm recording this, so I better go read those. But it's great, it's the 2nd of May and I've already finished a book. Yet again, being an actual, like, almost failure at vlogging, because it's now Friday and this is the first update I've had since the intro, so... But anyway, I'm due to be picked up in 45 minutes-ish, maybe 40-ish minutes now. My brother and sister-in-law have asked me to babysit tonight, so I'm on auntie duty, and basically I'm in charge of getting my niece to bed, watching her for a few hours, and normally I stay over and I sleep over there when I babysit. But I have plans tomorrow, starting quite early-ish in the morning, like 8-9 o'clock. So I am coming home tonight. They're going to drop me off when they get home. But I'm here to talk about a book. And it's the first 5-star read that I have had since February, I think. So it's been 3 months, pretty much, since I last had a 5-star read. And it is Beach Read by Christina Henry, which I did not expect to impact me the way it did. The premise of this, you've got Augustus and you've got, or Gus, and you've got January. Basically, January's father has died, and she found out that he had this whole secret life and this woman that he was in love with for many years and was cheating on her mother. And he left her a beach house in his hometown. So she decides to move in there because she's broke. She's an author. She's currently in between books and projects. She's broke. She can't really afford to live in New York anymore. So she decides, fresh start, move to there, try and maybe connect a little bit with her dad and try and figure out some of the answers that her mum doesn't want to give her. Then we have Augustus, who is also a writer in between projects, but he actually lives in the town, he grew up there, he owns a house there, and it turns out they are neighbours. Because they're both struggling with motivation, they decide that they're going to challenge each other, and they put a bet on to write a book in each other's style. So he's got to write a romance with a happily ever after, she's got to write a book where things don't work out and it's quite a cynical, maybe even a sad ending. And it's just such a beautiful read. I loved their relationship. January in particular, I started off not really liking her. By the end I really did love her. I didn't really like her because I didn't like the way she talked to Augustus, like when he made a couple of comments and she went on a sort of like a feminist rage thing, and it was just like, mate, all you're doing, you're trying to get one up on him, but all you're doing is making yourself look like a bit of a dickhead. But after about a quarter of the book that stops and it kind of goes more into them as like building a relationship and a friendship. But oh my god, all the characters were great, the tension, and you know, I am very funny about smutty adult books. When it comes to sex, I tend to be very cringy. I don't really like how it gets written a lot of the time. I think a lot of how a lot of romance authors write sex is disgusting, and I'm like, ew. This was what I like. It had really good build up, really good tension between the characters, and even when it came down to it, there wasn't a single moment where I felt like it was disgusting or gross, or that I was like, oh god, because it was really bad. Like sex talk and things like that, even when they were talking to each other during it, it wasn't to be like, oh baby, you're so beautiful, or oh, I want you in me, and that kind of thing. It was just really well done, and I was even now talking about it, I'm going a bit blushed. But it was exactly what I do like when it comes to writing. It had a lot of things that really resonated with me, especially with January, because you've got the grief of suddenly losing a parent and then finding out secrets about that parent after they've died. It might not, for her it was only a few months ago, for me it was 10 years ago. And yet the emotions she was feeling, I still feel now about my mum. I still find things out about her even now that take me by surprise. And, you know, similar circumstances. Her dad died of a stroke, my mum died of a heart attack. Very unexpected, very out of the blue, just bam. And so there's the grief of that and the way she was processing. And she also has come out of a long-term relationship. It didn't end quite as spectacularly, horrifically as mine did, as, you know, those of you that have been around know happened to me last year. But the main thing was her reflections now, like months later, on that relationship, and sort of her feelings when she was in the relationship, the reasons for going into that relationship, and sort of her realizations of how what she thought romance and love was to what she now realizes it is, and the way her attitude changes. It's exactly the process I've been going through now. Back then I was really hurt and in pain, but now I've had time to reflect. I've gone through a lot of those same feelings, and I'm also now at the point where, you know, I've kind of met someone, I'm starting to open up to them, I'm feeling that vulnerability again. But also some of the things that January was saying, where she's now building this thing with Augustus, and some of her internal reflections are word for word things that I've been feeling and thinking myself lately. And then the kicker came at about 80% in the book. This isn't spoilery, but her birthday is revealed to be January 13th. I knew she was born in January, but they talk about January 13th. And I was just like, oh my god, because that's my birthday. And now I'm convinced that Emily Henry is just like a psychic who has seen what happened to me and has just like infiltrated my life. And similar, if you watch Supernatural, maybe she's like Chuck, where, you know, she's just writing what, like, the events of my life and my thoughts and reflections. It's kind of freaking me out. But honest to God, I think if I hadn't have had those kind of real personal connections, and especially if her birthday wasn't exactly the same day as mine, maybe it would have only been a 4-star. But because it has had such a profound hit, and I've highlighted so many quotes that I'm like, this is how I feel about this new person. This is how I'm feeling about this very tentative new relationship that I'm building with someone after going through a breakup after being with someone for 5 years, and that I've reevaluated what love means to me. I was very much like January. I used to romanticize in my brain what romance is, and I used to go into a relationship with such high expectations and then be, rather than, you know, try to work on it to make it that way, I would instead just get really upset when it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Whereas I've had the chance to reevaluate that now, and I don't feel like that now. And going into this new relationship, I feel happier, healthier, and it's just everything. It's actually more romantic than what I've always envisioned romance to be in my head. And that's just amazing. So yeah, I really connected with the characters. I really love the setting. Augustus was extraordinarily complex as well. And yeah, I haven't run it through compile yet, but I'm already saying it's going to be, because there's going to be 10 for atmosphere. I think I might even give it, I think this might be the first book that gets 10 for plot. Because it didn't try to be clever, it didn't try to be like twisty and turny, but it was just beautifully well written in a way that just everything felt really natural and it flowed beautifully. So actually I think this could be one of the first 10s. And it was about writing as well, and as someone who's a writer and wants to publish books, it was really interesting to get insights into different ways that people approach their writing projects. And even though they're fictional characters, they both had such different ways of looking at their writing and talking about it, and it's actually kind of inspired me with my own writing. So yeah, absolutely loved it, and I'm really excited to finally have a 5-star read. So yeah, we're on May the 5th. Yeah, we're on May 5th. The second book that I finished this month. So I'm feeling optimistic about this month compared to last month at least. And yeah, hopefully I should have more updates. But I finished a book and I got a 5-star read. Editing Kirsty, who realised upon editing this vlog that not only did I forget to add Sunday's entry, I also forgot to wrap up and say goodbye. So I did do 2 more books. I forgot, because of my excitement from reading Beach Read, I forgot to also mention that after the no-show on Ren Sprints, I then read My Hero Academia volume 23 that day. So that was a reread for me, but it was the first time that I read it physically. Up until then I'd only ever read it on like e-version. So it was nice to read the physical books, but I have now read that and I gave that 3 stars because it just kind of was a bit of a filler for me, and it just wasn't as impactful as some of the other volumes later on. And it starts a bit of an arc where we focus more on the villains, and quite honestly, they're okay, but it's like in the anime, there's 4 or 5 episodes where it focuses purely on the villains, and I was just like, there's only one of them that I actually give any care about. So I was just like, I don't really care. But it was still 3 stars. And then I read on Saturday evening, I believe. Yes, because when I got back Friday, I went straight to bed. So Saturday evening, I read Fence Rivals, which is volume 5. And this is a little bit cool, a little bit better than volume 4. I really liked how we started to really see a relationship start to develop between Seiji and Nick. More in the sense of friendship right now, and like little things like there was a hint that maybe Nicholas is starting to have feelings for Seiji. Seiji sort of corrects his stance and he gets a little bit of a blush, and they start to actually reveal some of their vulnerabilities. We also get Harvard. He starts to reveal a couple more of his vulnerabilities, especially with how he had his true feelings towards a certain friend of his. And yeah, it was just a much more in-depth book, and yeah, I'm really excited for it to continue. And I think, yes, volume 6 is on there, so I will be reading that this week. And then after that, there's no more volumes in existence, so I can't read anymore. But the fact that it's been going for so long, I get the feeling it is going to continue. There's not been any formal announcement that they're going to continue it, but I feel like they will. So yeah, I gave that one 4.5 stars. So all in all, it was a brilliant week. And when you consider that in the entirety of April, I read 5 things, and in the first week of May, I read 4, that bodes well. And even if I don't really read anything else for May, as long as I read one other thing for the month, I'm on par with April, so I'm happy with that. So yeah, 2 novels, a graphic novel and a manga in 1 week. I am very, very happy with that progress. And I made a tiny little bit of progress on Daughter of the Pirate King. I listened to a few chapters on the audiobook. I'm now about 60% through that. I read 1 story in the Transmogrify short story collection, and what else did I read? There was something else that I'm sure I either started or... Straight Expectations, I read the first chapter. So, not very far, but I did something. So yeah, that was a fantastic start to the month. I think one of the best starts to any month that I've had this year so far. Really happy with that. Let me know in the comments, as always, what you got up to last week, how your reading went, what your favourite book was. For me, definitely Beach Read was by far my favourite. I mean, I did a 12-minute rant all about how amazing that book was. And I managed to do a 12-minute spoiler-free rant at that. And it was the first book that I've ever given a 10 for plot. It wasn't because it was an overcomplicated plot, and I think the reason I gave it a 10 is because it just focused on the story and the characters, and it didn't try to do too much with the plot, and that's what I loved about it. It didn't have a 3rd act breakup, it didn't try to be clever, it was just really well done, and I think that's why I gave it a 10, because it was just really well done. So, yay! Really excited. First 5-star read in 3 months. Couldn't be happier. Let's get on, and hopefully let's continue that momentum into the rest of the month. Hope you're good, I hope you're staying safe, and until next week,